Hi there, it's Tricia, and I'm going to go over the trades for today, Thursday, May 7th. And we use two setups using three charts with indicators for confirmation before we take our entry. And you can check those out at www.easyemintrade.com. So the first trade that's set up actually was taking off our longer tick chart, and we had a trend line break here. And so what I wanted was a close below the trend line break, and obviously we got that, and also close below our moving average. So the next bar I enter under the low of here, and what I do is I usually use a quarter or a half point below that, and so I got my entry at 924, and still scale out, meaning I want to get my +2, +4. So I got my +2 on a third, +4 on a third, and then trail stopped out for 4 3/4 on my final third. When I'm trailing my stop, you can use either a quarter or a half a point above each bar as it completes, and so by doing that I was just stopped out over here. The next trade that set up actually was on this trend line break. We had one here, but I didn't want to take it just because when you look to the left you could see all this congestion over here. So it's feasible that if you had this congestion over here, you'd have to sit through something similar to that over here. So when this set up, I chose not to take it. So this setup actually occurred at about 10:26. We have a trend line break. Here's our close below the trend line. Enter in under the low of this bar, actually a half under that, and I would have got my +2, but actually I got +1 3/4 and was stopped out break even on my remaining 2/3. I never got to +4. The most that you would have got out of that was +3.5, but then I was trail stopped out, so that was okay. The next trade to set up was actually at lunchtime, and I wasn't there to take it because I leave the room at 12. From 12 to 2 I'm gone, but many of the people in the chat room took this, and it's just dependent on how their MACD was on their particular chart. Some people got in here under the break of this trend line, and some entered here under the break of this trend line. So it just depends on how your indicator was. So if you did take that, and depending on how you were trailing your stop, you would have at least gotten at least 2.5 to 3 points out of it, depending on how you were trailing. If you were trailing a half a point above each of these bars, you actually would have did much better than that. And so then the next trade that set up was actually after 3:30, and it actually was a trend line break here of this orange resistance trend line. And you could have entered in above the high of this bar here, but because of the time of day, I was not going to take it. But obviously it would have worked out if somebody took it. If they did take it, and trailing their stop, they would have been stopped out actually under this bar here. So it would have worked out for a couple points anyway. So those would be the trades that you could have taken today. And those were based off our longer tick chart. And if you'd like to check out those setups, you can go to www.easyemintrade.com and check those out.